Good evening, everybody. I hope you can hear me. Okay. Slightly different this evening for me, Indy, at least in that I am doing this on my phone this evening. I usually do this my Wednesday evenings on my laptop. But this evening is an interesting one because I've just got a new laptop today and I decided to transfer all the data from one to the other. And of course, it's taken far longer than I thought it would. So yes, I'm having to do this via phone. Do say hello. I'm hoping that my phone will allow me to see the comments because it's all in a different order on my phone, as things are, aren't they? If you go from computer to phone, things are all in a different order in a different place. But do say hello if you are there. It'd be nice to say hello. If I don't say hello back, it's because I can't see your comments, so I don't know where they are. But let's just hope that some of you are able to see this. And oh, I can see that 7 people are here. Hello, people. Thank you so much for joining me. It's really lovely to have you here. Oh, there's the comments. Yes, I can see this. Hello. I can see Facebook user. I can see Kim. Hello, hello, hello. Oh, that's good. I'm pleased about that. Yes, it's been a very adventurous week for me this week. I don't know if you've seen some of my posts or some of my, bits and bobs, but it was my birthday on Sunday and I had a fabulous time and I'm still sort of having it, if you know what I mean. It's sort of one of those that's gone on. Hello, Jeanette. And one of the big things that happened on my birthday was that I officially retired from teaching, from primary teaching. Hello, I am well. Thank you, my lovely. I hope you are too. Yes, I officially retired from teaching. I'm officially now a pensioner. I know. I don't. Yeah. So various, pension funds have been enacted. Enacted, is that the right word? I don't know. But one of the things that I've splashed out on is a new computer. The majority of which will go on business expenses because the most thing I use my computer for is business. But yes, it's all transferring at the moment downstairs. So I didn't realise how long it would take. So there we go. The other thing I was going to do this evening. Oh, thank you, Kim. That's very kind of you. One thing I was going to do this evening was share my steps to business document that's in the guides, but I can't do that because I haven't got it on my phone. So I'll just have to talk you through it. Because this evening I thought what I'd do is I would talk about, hiya Charlene, hello lovely. I would talk about setting up in business and the things that you need to do, right at the beginning. I know quite a few of the people in the group are well established. But even if you're not, there might be some things that perhaps you haven't done yet or you haven't got round to yet or whatever. So I'll just talk you through. Now, if you go into the Home Baking Business Community UK, if you're not watching from there, in the files section, sort of nearer the bottom, because there's quite a few bits in the files now, you'll find something called Steps to Business with Checklist. And that is a document that I created when I first started this group last year. And it basically is a sort of, what it says is the steps that you need to take to set up your home baking business. So I highly recommend that you go into there and have a look at this, and I'll try and remember the steps. I was going to share the screen and talk you through it, but I'm going to have to just remember what's on it. I'll probably forget some bits, but yeah, I'll remember most of it. Now, the first step that I talked about actually is the second. Looking at it earlier today, I realised that the second step should be done first. Now, the second step on that checklist is check with either your landlord or your mortgage provider that you're able to run a small home business. Most of them are absolutely fine with it. Some ask you for details, but it is something you need to do first, because there's no point in going through all the registering and all that if your landlord says no, not having that. There are ways around it, there are ways to persuade, and so on and so forth. You need to make it clear, really, when you're asking or you're applying, that it is, yes, it is a home business, but it's a very low key home business. You're not going to have loads of deliveries day and night. You're not going to have people traipsing in and out. You're not going to have lots of cars parked around you. All those kind of things that might be associated with the business, you're not going to have. So make that clear when you ask whoever it is you need to ask. Okay. Now, in my experience is that some mortgage providers say, yeah, do what you like, and others want a bit more information. There's a whole range of different experiences in the group. So if you're with a particular provider, if you've got a mortgage, hi Andrani, hello, lovely. If you've got a particular, with a mortgage with a particular mortgage company, and you just want to sort of quick, hi Alex, you want to sort of quick, is it worth this, that, and the other? I know some people do pop questions in the group, so it's worth asking. There's enough people in the group to probably have someone who's in the same place as you, so do that. But yes, you must have permission to run your very small business. Most home businesses home baking businesses are sort of kitchen, possibly one other room, and that's counted as very low key. You don't change to business premises. The only time that might change if you build something in your garden, have a cake shed or something, then you'd need to talk to your council about, different use and things like that. But otherwise, if you're just using your kitchen, you're generally good to go. So once you've done that, once you're established that you are able to run a business from your home, the next thing you need to do is register with the council. Now, there's two types of registering, and often people get confused between the two, which is quite understandable because it can be quite overwhelming. You need to register with the council, and that's for your food standard registration, your food safety registration. And they're the people that come and do your inspection and give you the 5 award, hopefully the 5 that you get on the, the little sticker. The other registration that you need is for the taxman. I'll talk about that in a second. Okay, that's further down the line. So you need to go to the place to register your food business. Look on the steps to business checklist, and it'll have the link there. You can just click on the link and it'll take you there. And what happens then is you fill in that form, and that form is then sent to your council, because what you do is you put in your postcode so it knows which council you're in, and it sends it to the right one. The other way of doing it is to go straight to your council and find the form there. But unless you know where you're looking, you can go down sort of all sorts of rabbit holes and things. It's far easier really to go to the government website, put your postcode in, they go, yes, that's it, East Sussex Council, fill in this form. Sometimes they ask you to fill in a form and sort of send the PDF. Other times they send you to a website and it's an online one. So it's 2 slightly different ways of doing it. But the questions on the whole are the same. If you have any problems with the questions, just ask in the group. It's fairly standard kind of things for that. Once you've done that, you should get some kind of communication back that says we have received your application. And you then have 28 days after that before you can actually trade. Now, some EHOs, that's Environmental Health Officer, those are the people that come and do your inspection. Some of those will say, oh, yes, you can trade straight away. It's not a problem. Okay. So if they've done that, then fine. Okay. But please don't, ask in the group, can I trade yet? And if someone else has had that and says, yes, you can trade straight away, don't necessarily take that as gospel, because it might be that in your council, your EHO won't allow you to. So make sure you ask your council. Okay, I think that the thing that a lot of us have discovered about registering for, food standard and the food hygiene is that the EHOs, the environmental health officers, all do things slightly differently, all want to see different things, all seem to have different standards, and all do things in a different way. Some will contact you after a couple of days. It'll be months before you hear anything. just because of their workload, the way that things work in their council, all those different sort of variables. If you have any problems, just pop something in the group and one of us will suggest things to you, or tag me in if you want to. One thing I often suggest is, if someone hasn't heard for ages, just either phone your EHO or send them an email to say, yeah, just to make sure you got my registration, is everything okay, that kind of thing. It's worth noting that the EHOs don't just do home businesses at all. That's a very small part of their job. They oversee all the, the restaurants, and particularly with COVID going on, they've been up to their necks in all sorts of things, COVID standards and all sorts of things. So in a lot of councils, home baking businesses have been told, oh, you're very low priority, you'll just have to wait. And then you get an awaiting inspection thing. So don't be surprised if that happens, because we are fairly low risk. There's very little that can go wrong food safety wise with with cakes and things. Even if you use cream and cream cheese, which is considered slightly higher risk, as long as you keep it refrigerated and look at and take note of the use by dates, then you're fine generally. There is this sort of myth going around cake groups that you need a special license for using cream. It's nonsense. There's also a myth that says you need level 3 hygiene to use cream. That as well is nonsense. Level 3 hygiene is for managers of food premises. All you need to do, if you're using cream or making cheesecakes, things like that, you just need to let your EHO know so that they can check that you're keeping it safe. That's all. We have a question here. I registered over a year ago and I still don't have a visit booked. There are lots of delays, but I've had a phone call mainly to ask how I handle allergens and orders. Yes. Yeah, it's the allergens thing that's the top priority for them now with the change of law in October. I think most people, within the last year or so, in their inspections, that's one of the things that the inspector will ask. So you need to be fairly clued up on allergens. And if you're not sure, ask in the group. We'll advise you if you're not sure on that. But yes, thank you for that comment. That's absolutely true. Because it's the allergens. Say food safety wise and food poisoning wise, we can do little harm, but allergen wise we can. So we need to make sure that we're on the ball with that. But yes, you're quite right. Most of us would send registration in. You then have 28 days before you can start trading. So that 28 days is for you to get everything sorted out and up and running. On the checklist, I've written down the things that you need to think about. Terms and conditions. Get some of those. I'm always banging on about terms and conditions. That's your sort of safety net. That's how you work. That's your let out clause if something goes slightly wrong. You can sort of refer your customers to your terms and conditions. I'm sure I've done a live on it. I've referred to them in all sorts of lives. And there's also, excuse me, I've had a glass of wine earlier and it's coming back to me. There's also sample terms and conditions in the files, which you're more than welcome to use and borrow and adapt and all that. If you need any more help with terms and conditions, just ask in the group. All this kind of thing is what the group is for. So please don't feel shy about asking. Someone will be able to guide you. And if you want my advice, just tag me in. Please don't message me. If you're in the Home Baking Business Community UK, please don't message me. I reserve my messaging for my membership, my society. They are more than welcome to, but otherwise I'd just get inundated and I'd never be able to do anything else. But do ask in the group. That's what the group is for. So terms and conditions, you need to work out how you're going to take orders and track your orders, making sure you don't leave anyone out or forget anyone. There's nothing worse than thinking that you've forgotten someone, or that knock on the door, where's my cake? Oh gosh, I forgot. So make sure you have some kind of booking system. Yeah, paperwork that you need. I always send a receipt. I send an invoice. Once they've paid, I send a receipt. Not everybody does, but I do. Mainly because I'm dealing with quite big numbers because I'm wedding cakes. But I'm I think it's fairly good practice if someone's paid you money to send them a piece of paper to say I've received that money. I think it's just a professional thing to do. And all it involves, really, all I do, I've got my invoice that's got my, my business name and my address and all my, all the details, the date and that kind of thing. And I'll put a quote on that. So if someone wants a cake, I'll describe it on my invoice and say how much. And then once they've paid, I just change where it says invoice to receipt and put the date on, and I send it back with the amount that's paid. It's fairly straightforward. Once you've set it up, it's fairly straightforward. You don't have to do it all from scratch. So invoices, receipts, bookings, terms and conditions, get those sorted out. Please don't start running your business without terms and conditions, and make sure that you send those to your customers. Now, I know a lot of people organize or take their orders through Messenger and through text and things. Just be really, really careful if you're doing things sort of almost an ad hoc way. You've got to have a sort of an official way that you can track. I always send my invoices by email. I always send receipts by email. Then I've got a really good record of what I've sent. No one has ever complained or ever not sent me an email. I'll just say, oh, have you got an email? And I'll send it all via that. However they contact me in the first place. So I get people contacting me via Messenger, via Instagram, Facebook, text, WhatsApp, via my website, all sorts of things. And all of them, I say, when it comes to the invoice and the payment, I'll ask for an email, and I'll do it all via email after that point. Otherwise, you're wondering where everything is. And the Facebook and the Instagram business suite is so ad hoc, isn't it? I don't know about you, but sometimes you get a notification that you've had a message or something, and you go in and you can't find it, and it hides it somewhere. So I always think that email is much the safer way of doing it. Jeanette has asked, do you have to have your address on your ingredients labels? I'm hearing different answers. Yes, officially, if it's a full ingredient label with the full Monty on it, then officially you do. If you look, I think in one of my labels talks, I did talk about, bye Charlene, don't worry, lovely. There is, on the Food Standards Agency, they have a page about full labeling, and it tells you everything you need to put on them. But yeah, if you're talking full labels, officially you have to have some kind of address where the customer can contact the business. Okay. So yes, it's a pain. Full ingredient labels are, well, I think once you've done them and you've set them all up, they're fairly easy to manage, but it's just the doing them in the first place, isn't it? You're very welcome, Jeanette. You're very welcome. If you need the link to that, just pop a question in the group and tag me in, and I'll find it for you and I'll send it to you. Okay, I'll pop it up so you don't have to spend ages looking for it, because I know where it is fairly easily. So I can give it to you there. Yes, so those are the things you need to prepare. Yeah, if you're doing labeling, I won't talk about labeling now because we'll be here till midnight, but watch my labeling Waffle Wednesday. So if you look in the guides, look in guides 1 and scroll down, and you'll see the labeling one, and it will tell you what you need to do. And there's also a labeling guide in the files, my little diagram, that sort of a flow chart that tells you what you need to label depending on how you're selling. So make sure you look at that. But again, if you've got any questions about that, just pop them in the group. Okay, easily sorted. What else do we need to do? Oh yes, you need to think about your business name. Choosing a business name can be easy if you've got a name in mind, and you've always had a name in mind. Some people do that, you have a name in mind. The first thing you need to do is just check it's not a website, because although it doesn't prevent you using that name necessarily, unless it's a limited company or it's trademarked, you don't really want to have a business where someone else has got a website of that same name, because it's going to get very complicated. So I would suggest you find a name where the domain is available, because that's a fairly good indication that it's not a trademarked name. If there's another sole trader, so if I wanted to call myself Annie's Bakes, and another sole trader somewhere was called Annie's Bakes, there might even be an Annie's Bakes in the group, I don't know. There's nothing to stop me, even if there's, you know, another Annie's Bakes in the country. What I wouldn't do, if there was another Annie's Bakes within 10 miles of me, I wouldn't use it. So do a search, find out where the other other businesses are of the name that you're choosing, if it is, you know, if someone else has it. Because if there was another Annie's Bakes in Scotland, I'm down in East Sussex, so it wouldn't make any difference really. So just check that. Okay. It's a fairly good idea, even if you aren't intending on having a website, to buy the domain, and that's quite cheap actually. It's about £14 for 2 years or something ridiculous. It's really not expensive, and that means you have ownership of your name .com or .co.uk, which is going to lessen or prevent other people from setting up a website in your name. I hope that makes sense, because you don't want, if I set up Annie's Bakes, and after a year I found out someone had used it and put anniesbakes.com, I'd be pretty miffed, because that would really confuse all my customers then. So just be careful with that. Okay. Again, any advice you need on that, just pop it in the group. Yeah, as far as naming goes, if you're a sole trader, you just have to be careful. You can't use limited company unless you are a limited company. You can't use an already trademarked name, fairly obviously, and you can search for a trademarked name on the government website. There's a place. If you need that, let me know, because I know where it is. I can find it for you easily. So if you want to search for a name, see if it's already trademarked, let me know. And there was another one as well. There's another thing you can't do if you're choosing a name. You don't have to, by the way, if you're just a sole trader, you don't have to register with Companies House. Companies House is only for limited companies. Okay, so you don't need to worry about that if you're just going to be a sole trader. And sole trader is the sort of the easiest way to set up a business, particularly if you're sort of starting small, as most home bakers would be. So I always recommend, start with sole trader, because you can always level up to a limited company later if things are going really well. Okay, it's just easy. If you start to go down the limited company route, the finances are more complicated. You really need an accountant to sort out all your finances, and there's a cost attached to that. If you're a sole trader, it's much more easy to, do your finances yourself, particularly in the first couple of years when things are going to be slightly more straightforward. Okay. Right. So we've done our food hygiene registration. We've checked that we've got permission. We've sorted out all our terms and conditions, invoices, booking systems, all those kind of things. Yeah, then it comes to the inspection itself. And the main document that most of us, or most of you, will need is the Safer Food, Better Business, the SFBB pack, which is found on the Food Standards Agency. There is a copy of it in the files. If you'd like the website page, just let me know and I'll drop the link in for you. Someone will know it, but I can do that for you. There are different types of this pack. You can get ones for takeaways, you can get ones for retailers, you can get ones for childminders. Some EHOs recommend using the childminders version because it's very basic. I recommend the caterers version because it has things in a little bit more detail. And as I often say, I'd much rather know too much and not need it than just know enough or not quite know enough. So the caterer's pack is in enough details. There are certain bits in that pack that you don't need. Some of the sections on cooking, where it talks about checking that your meat is cooked, you obviously don't need those bits. But the pack is basically a risk assessment. It's what's known as an HACCP, which is a hazard analysis and critical control point, which basically is a risk assessment of your food preparation areas. So it goes through checking that you're not contaminating things, that you're keeping things clean, that you're checking for pests. So all those risks that might happen in a kitchen, this, the HACCP, which is what the SFBB is. Are you still with me? It's basically a big risk assessment, and you go through it and you look through it. Most of it is a common sense things that you might do in your domestic kitchen. You clean things, you check for pests, you check that you're not getting bits of plastic in your, all those kind of things. But it's just a sort of a laid out version of all those little risk assessments. Now, the SFBB is England. If you are in Scotland, it's called Food Safe, I believe. And if you're in Northern Ireland, it is called Safe Catering. They're all basically the same, but the Northern Irish and the Scottish one, they're just set out slightly differently, but they all have the same information. In Wales, you're doing the English one. It's the same as the English one. So it's all the same information, but it's just set out slightly different in Scotland and Northern Ireland. Okay, because all the hazards are the same, and they're all based on the Food Standards Agency ones anyway. They're just Scotland and Northern Ireland have just taken them and tweaked them. Okay. So you need to look through that, and that document has all the like the systems and the routines that you need. So it's got all the safe methods, that's what they call them. Are you doing this? Are you doing that? What do you do to keep this? What do you do to make sure that? And then it's got all the documents like the check sheets, the cleaning schedules, the diary pages. And those are the documents that you need, the documentation that you need to show that you're running, your food preparation areas hygienically. So, fridge temperatures, all those kind of things. My food hygiene record book is based on the SFBB pages. So it's got diary pages, it's got which include temperature records, it's got opening and closing checks, it's got sort of reminder questions. Have you done this? Have you done that? It's quite easy to follow. And it's all in one place. With the Safer Food, Better Business, it's sort of loose bits of paper sort of dotted about. But in my book, it's all put together. If you want to know a bit more about my book, I think there's something in the announcements in the group. But if you need the link, just ask. I'll pop the link in. You love my book, hooray. Jenny loves my book, hooray. I think lots of people have used it and found it quite useful. So that's fab. Thank you, Jenny. Right, quick slap of tea. I got a new mug. My daughter brought me a new mug. I'm a mad cat lady. Look, she got the cat. We love anything cat in this house. Yes, the other thing you will need to do is a food hygiene certificate. You need one for caterers. They're in the different companies, they're called slightly different things, but try and get one for caterers. You can do them online. They cost sort of between £10 and £20, and you get your certificate, and they can take sort of, I don't know, an hour, half an hour, an hour. They don't take very long. So you need one of those. If you need them, recommendations for links for those, again, just ask in the group, and someone will pop a link in. High speed training is quite a popular one. I've used a company called Eversley. Reed have them. So yes, so you'll need one of those for your food inspection. There are various other courses. The Food Standards Agency allergen course is a very good one, and that's free. Ooh, so it's recommended that you do that, so you know all about allergens, because as I said, allergens is the thing that's very high profile, quite rightly, at the moment. Oh, it keeps you super organized. So Jenny even staples her receipts in. That's fabulous, Jenny. Yes, it's quite handy, that, isn't it? Just to staple them in, keep them in one place. Yeah, so you need your food hygiene certificate. Insurance is a good idea. Now, insurance is one of these things, it's not actually a legal requirement, but a lot of EHOs look to see whether you have it. I haven't heard that mark you down, but I wouldn't be surprised if you haven't got insurance, they would be reluctant to give you a 5. But as far as I know, it's not a legal requirement, but it's recommended. I wouldn't recommend you run a particular baking business without insurance. There's a couple of insurances you need. First of all, you need your home insurance. You need to let them know that you're running a business, because some home insurers don't cover that, so you need to change your home insurance. If you go and compare the Meerkat people, or one of those compare sites, and when you do the initial questions, find the question that says something about home business, and it'll include all the all the companies that do it. I know Direct Line do home insurance, and various other providers do. So that's home insurance. And you also need something called public liability insurance, which is basically protecting yourself and protecting any customers that you come across, specifically to do with the products. A lot of people use Simply Business. Just ask in the group for a discount code, and someone will give you a discount code, because once you buy from Simply Business, they give you a refer a friend code, and if someone uses your code, I think you get £25 and they get 50 or something like that. It's worth doing anyway. But I must admit, I did ask people not to put those codes in just normal threads. So if someone's asking a question, please don't bombard them with Simply Business quotes, referral things, because I'm likely to delete them, because it does get slightly annoying. If someone specifically asked about insurance and you've got a code, by all means pop it in. But don't bombard, because it just gets a bit much, doesn't it, when loads and loads of people are doing it. But yes, you do need your public liability insurance. If you're doing markets and stalls, 5 million cover is recommended. A lot of organisers of markets and stalls will ask you for 5 million cover. I think currently I've only got 1 million. I might up that next year, but actually the difference between the amount of cover isn't a great deal of money. And the public liability the cost of it really depends on where you are in the country as insurance. That's how insurance works. But I think my public liability is, how much is mine? £12 a month, I think. I think that's what mine is. I also have another insurance, which is to do with my teaching and my courses and things. So I have an extra insurance on top of all that. But your public liability is what you need for your cakes. Now, I think that is all. But basically, check the checklist. I might have forgotten some things that are on there, but check the checklist. So if you're just starting out, find that steps to business with checklist, because the checklist is on the second page of the PDF that you can actually tick. I love a ticky thing, don't you? You can actually tick it when you've done it. But it's all there. There are links to all the various websites that I've mentioned that will take you to where you need to go. And basically the message is, particularly in the home baking business community UK, if you need to ask anything, that's what the group is for. It's what the group was started for, to help people get into their home baking businesses. So if you need to ask anything, just ask. Obviously, if you're in the society, my members society, you've got sort of messenger or email as well. I'm happy to answer questions that way as well as posting in the Facebook group as well. So there we are. If you have any questions, then do ask. I think there's a couple of seconds delay between me and the comments. So if you do have a question, do ask. But so the group is there. That's exactly what the group is there for, to ask questions. There's really no such thing as a silly question when you're starting in business, because everyone starts from different sort of levels of knowledge. When I first started my business, I was coming out of primary teaching, which is, there's aspects of business, but it's nothing to do with setting up a small business. So I really had no idea, and a lot of things I sort of learnt on the go. Thank you, Annie Bennett. This page is amazing. Oh, thank you. So my books. Oh, thank you. Bring it on. Get that inspection going. Yes, if you're prepared, there's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't get a 5. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I rarely say good luck to people. I don't really believe in luck. I don't believe that there are, forces in place that do things out of our power. I think everything that we do is in our own control. So I won't ever say good luck, but I'll say, go for it and, get it done. So well done, get it done. And if you need any help, of course, you know where we are. So that's what the group is for. So do ask if you need any help. No such thing as a silly question. If I answer your question and you're still confused, just ask again. I'm not at all offended if people say I don't get you. I don't understand what you just said. I'm very, very not easily offended at all. So do ask again if things aren't clear, or if you need clarification on something. Because that's sometimes the thing, isn't it, with setting up a business? You need things clear in your head. If you understand something, it's great. Yeah, I can go ahead and do that. But when things are a bit fuzzy, that's when things get a bit stressful, isn't it? So, take that stress away by really asking and making sure that you understand things, because that really, really helps. Okay. Righty ho, I'll leave it there. Oh gosh, it's 7 minutes past 8 already. I have waffled on this evening. Now next week, in my Waffle Wednesday, we've got a demo session next week, because someone in the group asked about how to make holly and mistletoe and things for cupcakes and bits and pieces. So I'm going to do a little demo next week on how to make holly decorations and mistletoe decorations, and possibly even ivy decorations for your cakes, cupcakes, treat boxes, whatever. So I'll do that next week. So that won't quite be December, will it? Or will it? What's the date today? No, that's the 24th. So sort of pre-Christmas, Christmassy thing. So if you don't do Christmas till December, sorry about that. But yeah, some of these things we have to do in advance, don't we? So that's what we will be doing next week. All right, my lovelies. As always, you know where I am. If you get my emails and you want to, reply to an email or ask a question via email, then do feel free to do that. I don't mind doing that. But try and refrain from Messenger, because it just clogs things up. And it takes me a lot of time to answer things by Messenger. But email, do feel free. I do send a Sunday email out, the Sunday waffle, with a small follow-up on Tuesday. If you'd like to receive that, if you don't already, if you'd like to receive that, then just let me know and I'll pop you on the list. It just sort of tells you what I'm talking about and a few bits and pieces that are going on as well. All right. Okie dokie then, my lovelies. I will leave you there. Have a lovely evening. Have a lovely week till next week. And I will see you for the demo next week when Christmas will start. All right. Take care, and I will see you next week. All right. Bye.